Part 50. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 491. Chapter 491 The Restless Black Group. Isn't it just a cave where you don't know the situation? You are already an emperor-level person, and there is such a heaven-defying existence as Pangu space. If you are still timid, what great things can you accomplish? Although her expression remained the same, her eyes could not be hidden. Mu Changling had been noticing the change in her eyes. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief when he saw her walking towards the entrance of the cave. There is a hurdle in this child's heart. If she shrinks today, it will not be a good thing for her cultivation. Fortunately, this child's character is relatively firm and she did not shrink at the critical moment. Whether she can enter the cave or not, crossing this hurdle in her heart is already a gain for her. The two of them were only a few steps away from the entrance of the cave. Xianxia walked to the entrance of the cave in a few steps. She waved her hand at the entrance of the cave a few times. She didn't feel any obstruction. She was very confused. Could it be that her ancestors did this deliberately to test her? Coming from one place, there is actually no obstacle at all. She turned to look at Mu Changling. Ancestor, there is no obstacle to this. Mu Changling's eyes lit up without saying anything. He walked over and stretched out his hand to push forward gently. A resistance pushed him back. Yu Xianglou clearly felt it. She was not pretending. She indeed had the power to push Mu Changling back. Exclude. Mu Changling didn't need to say anything. Facts had proved that there was indeed resistance in this cave. He murmured in his heart, could it really be his chance? She stretched out her hand and waved again, and there was indeed no obstacle. She didn't think about it anymore. Anyway, she would know once she gave it a try. If she could really go in, it would be good to see what made the aura so rich inside. If there is any opportunity, she doesn't want to miss it. For a monk, it is not easy to encounter opportunities. They are all in front of you, how can you miss them? With this thought, she did not hesitate and walked towards the cave. Although she decided to try to see if she could get in, she was also worried about bumping into something if she couldn't get in, so she walked very slowly. After falling down without any obstruction, she raised one foot and walked in. Standing at the entrance of the cave in one step, she turned back to look at Mu Changling. Ancestor, it seems I can really come in. What else does it look like? Isn't it already in? Mu Changling was so excited that her robes and hair began to dance in the wind. He waved his hand and said, go in, the ancestors are waiting for you here. Xianxia thought for a moment and said, my master has my life tablet. My ancestors can just go back and wait. She didn't know what was going on inside, and she wasn't sure if she would be in danger. She couldn't be sure how long it would take to get in and out. There was no need for her ancestors to wait for her here. Master has her life card in his hand, just go back and wait. As long as the life card is there, she will not have to worry about her life, and the ancestors can worry less. If there is really any danger, the ancestors waiting outside will not be able to help. Mu Changling felt a little sad at her words, as if she was saying goodbye. She immediately cursed, you are just going in for a walk, there is no need to read fortune cards, so go in quickly, I will wait for you here. Hearing this, Xianxia said nothing and took another step. As expected, there was no obstacle. Since she should be able to get in, there is no need to be so cautious and walk inside step by step. Her figure disappeared at the entrance of the cave in an instant. Mu Changling, who was guarding outside, stood with his hands behind his hands, looking at the entrance of the cave with his expression changing, but praying in his heart that the little girl would come back safely. Although he could sense that there were great opportunities here, opportunities and dangers coexisted. The little girl was only 16 years old. Although she was extremely talented and came to the higher continent at a young age, He could see that she had too little life experience. Although her character is considered stable among her peers and her fate has some twists and turns, she is still too young in his eyes. Yan Xianglue walked in the cave, and it was still dark after walking for a while. Fortunately, her night vision ability was already very strong, and she could see her surroundings clearly without using any light. At this time, she was walking in the corridor leading from the cave entrance. This corridor was the same height and width as the cave entrance she came in from, so it was not difficult for her figure to walk. Although my feet were stumbling, it was not difficult to walk. After walking for about a quarter of an hour, a light suddenly appeared not far ahead, and the rich aura that she had detected with her spiritual consciousness was right in front of her. Yan Xianglue slowed down her pace and let go of her consciousness, but she still couldn't see what was in front of her. As the light was getting closer and closer, Yan Xianglue stopped, because the black dumpling who had been practicing quietly in Pangu space became restless, and it seemed that he was about to come out. Yan Xianglue looked at the bright place in front of her, and then at the black dumplings in the space. Hey Danzi was a treasure she dug out from under the big tree at the intersection of the main street of Musui City. After getting the black dumpling, she had not had time to study what it was. Since He Tuanzi entered the space, he has been practicing quietly on the space stone milk. Why is he suddenly agitated and wanting to come out today? Does the opportunity here have anything to do with He Tuanzi? Yan Xianglue hesitated whether to let He Tuanzi out, when Shiwo's voice suddenly came from her consciousness, "Master, let it out." After hearing Shiwo's words, Yan Xianglue moved He Tuanzi out of Pangu's space without hesitation. Shiwo didn't speak easily. Since it took the initiative to speak, it must be up to something good. The black dumpling didn't even wait to hit the ground when it came out of the space, and flew towards the light. Yan Xianglue was speechless. She couldn't wait any longer. What's ahead? Since Shiwo let He Tuanzi out, there shouldn't be any big danger, so he didn't walk slowly and followed quickly. Chasing after the light, she walked into the light without hesitation. A dazzling light flashed in front of her eyes. She instinctively raised her hands to cover her eyes, but she did not stop. She put down her hand only when she noticed that the light had disappeared. Only then did she realize that the hole behind her had disappeared, and Yan Xianglue was speechless. Was this cutting off her retreat? Looking forward again, his apricot eyes suddenly opened wide, and a strong spiritual energy rushed towards his face. In front of him was a space of several hundred square meters, with many black dumplings floating in it. The rich spiritual energy emanated from the black dumplings. Why are there so many black dumplings? Where is her black dumpling? Due to the contractual relationship, Yan Xianglue quickly sensed the aura of He Tuanzi. Suddenly, his face was filled with black lines, because he saw his own black dumpling, which he was holding and chewing hard. The black dumpling in the space being held and chewed by the black dumpling struggled desperately, but the power gap with her black dumpling was too great. After struggling for a few times, he was swallowed up by her black dumpling in a few mouthfuls. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 492. Chapter 492 Cute Wow. Yan Xianglue was speechless, and finally understood why He Tuanzi was so restless in the space. No one could calm down with so many delicacies. The black dumplings themselves are the aura treasures she dug out under the big tree at the intersection of Musui City. Each one of them makes the aura of Musui City richer than other places. Not to mention how many black dumplings there are in there, just look at them. Can't see it? She never expected that this was the reason for the strong spiritual energy. Yan Xianglue stood still. The key was that there was nowhere to move if he wanted to. The entire space was occupied by countless black dumplings. She looked numb all over her body, and she was unwilling to rush in to see if there was anything else. Besides, He Tuanzi eats so deliciously, maybe this is He Tuanzi's opportunity, so she won't delay Haiduan's delicious meal. Wait until it's done eating and then look to see if there's anything else. However, his spiritual consciousness communicated with Shiwo, "Wow, what are these black dumplings? If Shiwo has a human face, I guarantee you can see its twitching facial features. What is the name of Shiwo?" Sure enough, Shiwo is not a good name. "My name is not Wow," Shiwo protested. Yanxiangluo was surprised that Shiwo would be frustrated sometimes, so she deliberately teased him, "Wow sounds so nice, and it's so cute." "Why should I be so cute as an alchemy furnace?" Shiwo argued hard, fearing that the name Wow would fall on it. "Then tell me what they are and why they are here, and I won't call you Wow." Yanxiangluo put forward her conditions in a timely manner. Shiwo was furious. "Recover your memory quickly, and you'll know everything. There is still something left in my heart. After you recover your memory, you don't have to squeeze it into an alchemy furnace. Is it easy for it to be an alchemy furnace? You have to worry about things that are not in charge of the alchemy furnace." Yanxiangluo raised her eyebrows. Why does this have anything to do with her memory? Could it be that the existence of these things is related to myself in the previous life? Seeing that Shiwo was so angry, Yanxiangluo didn't say anything, and she didn't ask him any more questions. "Then you can always tell me, will all these black dumplings be eaten by my black dumplings?" Yanxiangluo said worriedly, looking at the countless black dumplings. Shiwo's tone also calmed down. "Of course. How long will it take to eat so much?" Yanxiangluo sighed. Shiwo rarely made her worry anymore. Every time a black dumpling is eaten, the black dumpling will grow bigger, and the next one will grow faster. It won't take long. In other words, the more you eat, the faster you eat. Yanxiangluo felt relieved when he heard this. How long will it take? Shiwo felt that its owner was just too bored and had nothing to say, so he let her chat with her. About 3 days. After saying this, Shiwo stopped talking. No matter what topic Yanxiangluo found, he stopped talking. Even when Yanxiangluo called him wo, he ignored her. Yanxiangluo was extremely bored. What should she do now? There were so many black dumplings and she had no place to go. Shiwo said it would take 3 days, and there was no way back to the cave. She couldn't stand here for the past 3 days. Yanxiangluo took another look at the black dumplings that were getting fatter and fatter as they ate. She originally wanted to absorb some spiritual energy, but seeing that it liked it so much, she stopped trying to compete with it. After it finished eating the black dumplings, she would absorb it if there was still spiritual energy. Not too late either. Determinedly entered the Pangu space. I feel comfortable instantly when I arrive in the space. The time in the space is the same as outside. I just finished breakfast before coming here. The same is true in the space. It is not long after the sun has risen. Yanxiangluo took advantage of this rare free time to wander around the space. First, he went to see how many spiritual springs there were in the Lingquan pool. The pool with telescopic function that Jizhong refined for him played a big role. The pool she bought before was already full, which was what Jizhong refined. Some of the ponds have also been installed. But this time she is not worried that the spiritual spring will not be able to hold it. The pool will increase in size as the number of spiritual springs increases. She was a little confused. Could it be that his space was created by Pangu when he opened the world and had an ancient aura, so the spiritual springs were flowing more and more? Looking up at the space stone milk suspended above the pool, although this stone milk is not small, where are so many spiritual spring stone milks stored? It used to take a long time for every drop to flow, but now it all flows away. Looking at the clouds that were crowding the Shiru for cultivation, Yanxiangluo sighed. She, the master, didn't even have the space for Shiru to be welcomed. Forget it, let's go and see the medicine field. From a distance, the medicinal fields were extremely lush, and she had never taken care of them. Perhaps because of the ancient atmosphere in the space, these medicinal materials grew better and faster than those outside. Checked the medicine field carefully and figured out the quantity of various medicinal materials that he had. Xianxia looked up at the mountains in the distance. It was already late summer and early autumn. She wanted to see what fruits were ripe in the mountains. The products produced in her space are real spiritual fruits. Xianxia could have used her thoughts to go there directly, but didn't she have enough time now? She took off in the air and flew over slowly. It just so happens that I take this opportunity to take a good look at my own space. There are many types of fruit trees in the mountains, and there are many mature ones. She picked some back one by one, and also picked some wild flowers and put them in vases. She brought out a soft couch and placed it next to the door. She also brought out a small square table and placed a fruit basket and a vase of wild flowers on the table. Worried that the wild flowers would not last long enough, I also input some wood-type power into them so that they can bloom for a long time. Then she lay on the soft couch and ate spiritual fruit leisurely. She had never dared to imagine such a relaxing and leisurely life before. But she didn't indulge herself for too long, and went to refine the elixir half an hour later. Almost, she finished the Danfang of Jupin Danko. At that time, she was the real class alchemist. She would lose track of time as soon as she started refining the alchemy and devote herself wholeheartedly to it. When she felt that her mental energy was too much and she stopped, it was already the early morning of the next day. Xianxia glanced at the remaining elixir recipes. There were less than 10, so he rested for a while before continuing to refine them. She will be able to refine the 9th grade alchemy recipe today, and she will be a real god-level alchemist. She looked outside the space in a very good mood. One day and one night passed, and the number of black dumplings that were originally crowded around each other had decreased a lot among them. There was a huge black dumpling that kept chasing and devouring the black dumplings. The corner of Xianxia's mouth twitched. It only took one day and one night, but her black dumplings were already so big that she couldn't even recognize them. How big will her black dumplings be if she devours them all? The key is, what exactly is this black dumpling of mine? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 493. Chapter 493. Xuanhuan comes out. Although she has contracted the black dumpling, she still doesn't know what it is. I only know that its body is full of spiritual energy. Another point is, why are there so many black dumplings here that look very similar to black dumplings? Looking at the black dumplings that she was devouring, Xianxia silently withdrew her gaze. After all, the clouds and the dumplings were cuter. It seems that she likes petite and cute spiritual pets. Xianxia got up and walked to the kitchen. It had been a long time since she had made delicious food for Xuanhuan. She took advantage of this time to cook more and save it for Xuanhuan to eat slowly. His spiritual pet still needs to be pampered. Xuanhuan is very sensible. If he doesn't make food for it, it will never take the initiative to ask for it. The more this happens, the more Xianxia likes it. Xuanhuan, who was still practicing, smelled the familiar fragrance, and his little ears immediately perked up. He stood up from the space stone breast and saw the smoke coming from the kitchen. His dark eyes suddenly lit up, and his little body rushed over, and his voice rang out in Xianxia's consciousness. Master, you have prepared delicious food for me. Xianxia looked at the cloud rushing towards him, raised his hand to catch it, and then put it on his shoulder. It's been a long time since I cooked delicious food for you. I will be in the space these 2 days. If I have time, I will cook more for you and you can eat it slowly. The clouds jumped on her shoulders, cheering, Master, you are so good. Xianxia used her cooking skills happily, and various delicacies were placed on the table. Surrounded by delicious food, Xuanhuan feels that he is the happiest mythical beast in the world. Xianxia also made some of her favorite food, and she and Xuanhuan ate them deliciously. After eating, Xuanhuan continued to practice, and Xianxia also went to practice to recover her mental power. In the evening, after her mental power was fully restored, she started refining elixirs again. She finished refining a dozen elixir recipes in more than an hour. The sky outside has also turned completely dark. At this moment, the copper tower palace in the space shook, and Xianxia immediately looked inside the copper tower palace with her consciousness. Then he saw Xuanhuan rushing into the 9th floor. Xianxia stood up all of a sudden and appeared outside the bronze tower palace with a thought, clenching her hands tightly. It turns out that the 9th floor of the Copper Tower Palace is not an ordinary training place, but a thunder and lightning space. It will not appear until no one enters. After Xuanhuan entered, the entire space was filled with thunder and lightning. There was lightning and thunder, and lightning struck Xuanhuan one after another. In the blink of an eye, Xuanhuan was already in a panic. This was the first time this happened. Xianxia was very worried about Xuanhuan's safety. She almost moved Xuanhuan out of the 9th floor impulsively. Reason overcame impulse. The Bronze Tower Palace would not kill anyone, but she still waited outside the Bronze Tower Palace, ready to take Xuanhuan out at any time to treat his injuries. She didn't understand why Xuanhuan worked so hard to reach the top in one go. Is it because it would be safer to go to the Ji family to receive the inheritance? At this time, Xuanhuan also knew that he had been careless this time. He did not expect that the 9th level of experience in the Copper Tower Palace was different from other levels. It was actually thunder and lightning. There is no place to hide here at all, thunder and lightning are everywhere, and he can only be forced to accept the attack of thunder and lightning. Moreover, he discovered that spiritual resistance had no effect at all. On the contrary, the strength of the resistance was weakened by the consumption of spiritual power. So he stopped using his spiritual power and just carried it with his body. The clothes on his body were in tatters, and his hair was singed by lightning. Despite this, his eyes were getting brighter and brighter. Because he finally discovered why this layer was full of thunder and lightning. This layer was forging people's physical strength. Monks all cultivate spiritual power and do not exercise their bodies at all. Unless they practice vitality at the same time like Luo they must be physically able to keep up before they can exercise their bodies. Although he didn't know why the monk's training place required physical training at the end, and physical fitness did not affect the monk's advancement, he knew that this opportunity was rare, perhaps the only one in his life. Therefore, he prayed in his heart that Luo would never take him out because he felt sorry for him. I missed such a good opportunity to exercise my physical fitness and strength this time. I don't know if I will have it next time. Xianxia, who had been watching outside, also saw the clue and knew that these thunder and lightning would not kill Xuanhuan, but were testing his physical fitness and strength. After coming to the higher continent, she didn't have time to practice her vitality. Seeing that the 9th floor of the Copper Tower Palace was actually used to practice physical fitness and physical strength, she also eagerly wanted to go in and practice again, and also practice to the 9th floor, so that she could improve. Improve your physical fitness and physical strength to enhance your vitality. She was relieved after knowing the reason, and turned to go to the kitchen. Since it was to test her physical fitness and strength, it shouldn't take long. Xuanhuan should be out soon. She was going to make him some delicious food to comfort him. Xianxia was busy in the kitchen, and it was completely dark outside. When she felt the Copper Tower Palace tremble again, she turned her head and looked outside, and saw the light of Xuanhuan's advancement in the distance. Threads of golden light fell down, reflecting the beauty of the night sky. Xianxia's glow was golden when she was promoted. She had also seen Xuanhuan's promotion and knew that his glow was also golden, so she was not surprised. He walked out of the kitchen and looked at the golden light in the night sky. He raised his eyebrows and wondered how many levels he had advanced to. Why hadn't he finished it after so long? A while passed, and the light of Zhizhong's promotion finally stopped, and Yanxiangluo immediately appeared in front of him. As soon as Zhizhong stood up from the ground, he saw Luo with a flowery smile appearing in front of him. He happily rushed over and wanted to hug her. Yanxiangluo stretched out her hand to stop her, and then pointed at him. Zhizhong was immediately embarrassed when he first looked at it. Not only was he completely dark, but his clothes were only hanging like strips of cloth. If he hadn't been so dark, he would have been even more embarrassed. He didn't need to think about it to know that the same was true on his face. The person disappeared in a flash. Luo, go take a shower and change clothes. Yanxiangluo laughed loudly. Only she could see Zhizhong like this. There were not many opportunities, maybe just this once. After laughing, she thought that she would have such an experience in the future, and immediately decided that when she went into practice again, she would never let Zhizhong wait in the space. She didn't want Zhizhong to see him in such an embarrassing state. By the way, she hasn't asked what level Zhizhong has been promoted to. By the time Zhizhong had freshened up and changed his clothes and came out, Yanxiangluo had already laid out a table of food. Zhizhong sat down at the table and said with a smile, Luo, guess what level I am? End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 494. Yanxiangluo raised an eyebrow and glanced at Zhizhong. Although he didn't know his specific cultivation level, it was impossible to break through to the level. If it were so easy to break through to the god level, there wouldn't be so many people trying their best to enter Yun's Hang Palace. But the aura on Zhizhong's body was very strong, so strong that she felt that it was similar to Zhangzilu in Changchuan City. Although Changchuan Changcheng Zhangzilu is a scumbag, his cultivation talent is still good. He is already in the 8th level of the holy level in his 30s. With this comparison, it shows that Zhizhong's cultivation level is at least around the 8th level of the saint level. After all, she knows that Zhizhong can fight beyond the level. His cultivation strength is stronger than that of people of the same level, even though he has just broken through. The span of his breakthrough this time is not ordinary. How much is the saint level? Yanxiangluo asked. Zhizhong Feng's eyes were shining brightly. It was at least the first time that Yanxiangluo saw him so excited without hiding his emotions. 8th level of the holy level. Zhizhong no longer pretended to be ignorant. He entered this time hoping to achieve the greatest possible breakthrough. If he could, he would directly advance to the 9th level. His goal was achieved, and his cultivation exceeded his expectations and reached the 8th level of the holy level. He finally had the confidence to compete for first place in the continental competition. Then he thought that Luo still didn't know that he was going to participate in the continental competition, so he thought that he would tell her today, but he didn't know if she would be angry because he didn't tell her before. Although Yanxiangluo had already guessed that he would advance to the saint level, she did not expect that he would advance to the 8th level of the saint level. I really know his level of cultivation, and I still admire him very much. After all, even if the same opportunity is presented to me, not everyone can seize it. Stretch out your hand. Yanxiangluo thought of the thunder and lightning body refining on the 9th level, wondering if he had suffered any internal injuries. Zhizhong knew that she was worried about whether he was injured under the 9th level lightning attack, so he didn't say anything and directly lifted up his sleeves and stretched out his hand in front of her. He said nothing and asked her to check her physical condition for herself, which naturally put her at ease. Yanxiangluo felt Zhizhong's pulse and confirmed that he had indeed not suffered any internal injuries. Not only was he uninjured, but his physical strength had been greatly enhanced by the lightning attack. Even his internal organs were much stronger. This mouthful was used during the battle. Even if Tong is a monk, in the same life and death situation, he has a greater chance of surviving than the other party. Only then did Yan Xianglou take back her hand with confidence. At the same time, she also understood the effect of the 9th level of lightning body refining. Why are you working so hard? Yan Xianglou filled a bowl of soup and put it in front of him. I haven't eaten for nearly 2 months. I drink a bowl of soup to warm my stomach first, and then eat other things. It won't hurt my stomach. Although I have strong spiritual power to protect my body, nothing will happen to my stomach, but it's always good to be careful. This is also the main reason why the health of those monks is not as good as that of normal people once their cultivation is abolished. Without the spiritual protection, the physical condition will decline rapidly. The higher the cultivation level and the older the age, the more obvious it will be. Because monks have spiritual power to protect their bodies and never pay attention to physical maintenance. Zhizhong picked up the spoon and took a sip of the soup. I want to participate in the continental competition. Yuan Xiangluo's gaze paused. Is Zhizhu going to participate in the continental competition? He used an affirmative tone. The registration for the continental competition has ended long ago, which means that the registration was completed before he went into practice. He made the plan early and only knew about it. An indescribable emotion surged into her heart, making her very uncomfortable, as if something was stuck in her throat. She didn't know why she felt this way. Was it because of Zhizhong that she told herself? No, it was because she felt that she was dispensable in his plan, and it didn't matter whether he had her or not. After thinking of this, Yan Xianglou lowered her long eyelashes to cover the expression in her eyes, and said without any change in her tone, "Let's eat, the spiritual energy has dissipated a lot." Zhizhong's eyes paused, and he couldn't see any emotion from the expression on her face. She didn't show any anger, and even her tone didn't change at all, but he just felt that there was something different. He didn't know what to say. She wasn't angry. It seemed inappropriate to ask him if he was angry. It seemed even more inappropriate to say nothing. What should I do? Zhizhong didn't know what to do, but Yan Xianglou had already served him another bowl of rice naturally. Instead of serving the rice, she filled a bowl of soup and drank it slowly. Zhizhong had no choice but to talk after eating first. The meal was very quiet, and Zhizhong felt that there was indeed something different between the two of them. If the two of them didn't have the rule of not talking during meals and sleeping together before, they would just talk while eating. Today's meal was too quiet. After eating, he took the initiative and said, "Luoluo, I didn't tell you before because my cultivation level was too low and I was afraid that you would worry." Yan Xianglou looked up at him and said, "Yes, I understand." Zhizhong stared at Luoluo for a moment, as if nothing had happened. He couldn't even say the explanation he had prepared, but he was so sensitive that he just felt that there was something different between them. Yan Xianglou did not give him another chance to continue this topic. "It's not convenient for you to go out now. You should stay in space first. I found my master." The master met the ancestors of the Xuanhuan section. The ancestors built another Xuanhuan sect in the higher continent. "I am now in the Xuanhuan section. The ancestors, his cultivation strength is beyond the reach of your current cultivation level. The entire mountain has a barrier set up by him, and you can't get out." Yan Xianglou believed that Zhizhong was sincere when he said he didn't want her to worry, but it was also true that he was dispensable in his plan. Xuanhuan sect? This is actually another Xuanhuan section. Zhizhong is surprised that the ancestor of Xuanhuan sect is still alive. Knowing that the topic she had diverted could not be continued, Zhizhong wondered in his heart what made Luoluo uncomfortable. He did not mention it and explain the reason to her, and she was not angry. If not for this, what else could make Luoluo feel uncomfortable? Is she like this? Zhizhong felt a little depressed. It was really hard to guess what a girl was thinking. Zhizhong suppressed the depression in his heart and began to think about it. The immortal cloud sect in the Tianchen continent has been established for more than 3,000 years. The founder of the immortal cloud sect should also be more than 3,000 years old. You can tell how strong his cultivation is from his age. After all, longevity is equated with cultivation. A person who is more than 3,000 years old should be a truly powerful person on the higher continent. Now I am indeed a little transparent in front of others, so let's stay in the space for now. Where is the Xuanhuan sect here? Zhizhong asked. Since Luoluo appears in space, it means that the ancestor where she is now cannot notice it. Otherwise, with her caution, no one would know that she has space. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 495. Chapter 495 A Sudden Awakening. This is a cave discovered by our ancestors when they built Xuanhuan section. No one has been able to enter this cave. It contains spiritual energy that is 10 times richer than the outside. My ancestors asked me to give it a try, and I came in, but the chance was not there. Mine Yanxiangluo didn't hide anything from Zhizhong. Zhizhong heard the words and looked outside the space. The authority of Pangu space was open to him, so he could see the scene outside the space as long as he used his spiritual consciousness. He saw the huge black dumpling desperately devouring other black dumplings. It took him a while to realize that this black dumpling should be Yanxiangluo's black dumpling. Zhizhong raised his eyebrows and asked uncertainly, which black dumpling is that Yun Tuan dug up in Muzui City? Yanxiangluo nodded, well, there are a lot of black dumplings here. It has been eating them for 2 days and 1 night. It has devoured half of the black dumplings and made itself fat. Zhizhong's mouth twitched. He had indeed gained weight. He was not just a little fat, but was dozens of times his previous size. It's just that there are so many black dumplings here. One black dumpling in Muzui City makes the aura of the city several times richer than other places. What's more, there are so many black dumplings. No wonder the black dumplings are like this. After being surprised, Zhizhong quickly regained his composure and understood why Luoluo was in the space. How long does it take for the black dumpling to be swallowed up? Zhizhong asked. The time it took for the black dumpling to be swallowed should be the time Luoluo stayed in the space. About the morning of the day after tomorrow, Yanxiangluo continued, after I get out of here, I will find a reason to go down the mountain, and then you can go out. Zhizhong was stunned, you won't come with me. Yanxiangluo's eyes paused, I just came to Xuanhuan section. I will stay with my master and ancestors for a few more days before the continental competition starts. She wanted to separate from Zhizhong for some time to think calmly. Although the two had been separated for almost 2 months, she could see Zhizhong at any time, and it was not technically separated. Zhizhong frowned. There seemed to be nothing wrong with what she said. She was going to participate in the continental competition, and she didn't have to compete, so there was no need to go too early. Moreover, she had just found her master and ancestors, and it was right for her to want to spend more time with them, but Zhizhong felt that something was wrong. Yanxiangluo didn't want to say anything more and stood up to clear the table. Zhizhong immediately stood up and said, I'll come, you can rest. Yanxiangluo was not polite to him either. Zhizhong also took the initiative to clear away the dishes and clean the kitchen before. It's normal for her to cook while he cleans the dishes, and she's not his maid. Looking at Zhizhong's back going to the kitchen, Yanxiangluo stood up and walked to the medicine field. I'm going to pick some medicinal plants. Okay, Zhizhong responded and turned around to see Yanxiangluo walking towards the medicine field. Zhizhong pursed his lower lip and walked into the kitchen with a frown. He washed all the dishes and chopsticks and came out after tidying up the kitchen. At this time, Yanxiangluo had already begun to study the prescription. Seeing her concentration, Zhizhong swallowed the words that came to her lips. It was not convenient to disturb her at this time, so he sat cross-legged next to him. The advancement was too urgent and he needed time to stabilize his cultivation. Fortunately, although the level span of this promotion is relatively large, it is because the cultivation level gained during the promotion is still very stable. However, his promotion span is too large, and it still takes time to adapt. Since I can't go out now, I would like to take advantage of this time to stabilize my cultivation and keep my cultivation and realm as equal as possible. Xianxia fell and glanced at Xuanhuan, who was cultivating. From the corner of her eye, her apricot eyes darkened. Today, she learned that Xuanhuan had signed up to participate in the continental competition before entering the Copper Tower Palace to practice. It can be said that her heart was severely shaken. She suddenly realized that she was very rational at the beginning when the two of them got along, but unknowingly she became dependent on Xuanhuan. Especially after arriving in the higher continent, she didn't think about anything when she was with Xuanhuan, as if she had no brain. She doesn't know exactly when all this started. This kind of me is so terrible. How is it different from those who are in love? Have I forgotten my original intention? It has only been 3 years, and the experience of another life seems so far away. She has forgotten that the only one she can trust and rely on is herself. She has forgotten how difficult it was for her to survive, and she has forgotten not to trust anyone with her whole heart. Because the only people who can hurt you are the ones closest to you and the ones you trust. My original intention is not to become a powerful person on the mainland. No one can bully me. Can I go to Xianxia to see the evergreen trees that live as long as heaven and earth? When did Xuanhuan take up everything in his own world? Especially today, I discovered that I am not everything to him. He can exclude himself from his plans, but his plans are slowly centering on him. For the first time, Yanxiangluo hated herself for being so unfulfilled. What is boring in my heart is never uncomfortable. Look, Xuanhuan's impact on her is more strong. Yanxiangluo unconsciously touched her heart. She didn't like this feeling at all. Just like what she said to Fang 11er a few days ago, she found that what she said was clear, but she had already fallen into the love between a man and a woman. She found that she was too naive. Xuanhuan said he didn't tell her in advance because he was afraid of worrying her, and she believed him. But this also shows that his position in his heart is that he is the one being protected. Without him, his plans will not have any impact at all. Even if he has his own existence, he still has his thoughts and ideas, which will not affect him at all. To be precise, the two of them are now that she, Yanxiangluo, has lost herself, while Xuanhuan is still an independent existence, and can handle feelings and other matters calmly. Yanxiangluo suddenly realized that although she was young and had little experience in relationships, she had once lived in 2 worlds and had seen far more than the people in this world. She should not live more simply. Today's discovery made her suddenly not sure how to face Xuanhuan. Well, after getting out of the cave, she would go down the mountain and let Xuanhuan go out to do his things. She would also take this time to think about it and find her former self. I have to admit that Xuanhuan is indeed a very successful person. No matter what the situation, he can make life proceed according to his own wishes without delaying any of his ideas. Actually, she is not in the mood to study the prescription now. After all, she still puts her mind to it. What happened today still had a great impact on her. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 496. Chapter 496 Self-Protection Methods. As a person with the 4th level of Emperor level cultivation, he can put aside his unresolved problem at the 3rd level of Panga flower blooming, but he is worried about Xuanhuan, who has the 8th level of Holy level cultivation, going to Ji's family to receive the inheritance. Is Zhizhong more important than others? Yet, she felt ridiculous just thinking about it. Yan Xiangluo closed her eyes for a moment, and when she opened them again, her eyes were clear, and the indifference that had disappeared for a long time came back, but her state of mind was still different. She could not pursue strength as before without any desire. She knew it. Yan Xiangluo, who was a little confused, put away the herbs and elixirs, got up and went back to the room. When she was not in a calm mood, neither practicing nor studying would be very effective, and accidents might even happen. So she decided to do nothing tonight and just go to bed and have a good rest. Just like herself in another life, when her body couldn't hold on any longer, she would sleep well for a few days, and she would always feel better when she woke up than before going to bed. This was also a way she used to protect herself, but she never thought she would use it one day. She doesn't have to worry about not being able to sleep. She can fall asleep quickly every time this happens, because in her subconscious, everything in her dreams is what she wants, and only dreams are willing to coax her. This is her instinctive protection for herself. Sure enough, she fell into a dream as soon as she lay on the bed. In the dream, she returned to another life, but in the other life in the dream, she was a healthy and beautiful girl who could walk out of the house, go to school, and traveling around the world, she can eat whatever food she wants and do whatever she wants. She was happy in the dream, even the sunshine was warm and the air was fresh. She would often have this dream in another life. This was the first time she dreamed about it after her soul returned. The beautiful girl lying on the bed turned sideways and curled up together, with her arms tightly hugging herself. Like this, the position gave her a sense of security, and she fell asleep like this. Early the next morning, Zhizhong quit practicing. There was no one around him. He looked around and did not see Yu Xiangluo. He stood up and used his spiritual consciousness to look for her. There was no restriction on him in the space, so he found her breath in her bedroom and was surprised to see her still sleeping. Luoluo is not a sleepy person. From the first time I saw her to now, she rarely sleeps in. What happened today? Perception that her breathing was very stable and that she was indeed sleeping, Zhizhong did not disturb her and went for a walk in the space after washing. When he came to the Copper Tower Palace again, he admired the weapon refiner who refined this space magic weapon. It was so amazing. He himself was a weapon refiner. When could he reach this level or surpass him? Yan Xiangluo slept all day and night without waking up. She slept until the black dumplings were about to swallow up all the black dumplings outside, and then she was woken up by Shiwo. Master, wake up, the black dumplings are almost finished. Yan Xiangluo was having fun in her dream when she heard the sound of the stone nest. She frowned and woke up slowly. When she saw the place where she was, she regained consciousness in an instant. She sat up and looked outside. There were not many black dumplings left. She patted her forehead. Why did she sleep for so long? She quickly got up and went out, and as soon as she went out, she ran into Zhizhong's arms. Zhizhong had been standing guard in front of her door. When he saw that she was awake, his eyes were full of surprise. He stretched out his arms to hug her and said, "Luoluo, are you feeling uncomfortable? Why did you sleep for so long?" There was worry in his tone, and Yan Xiangluo also knew that his worry came from the bottom of her heart, but she was in a different mood now and didn't want to get lost again because of the warmth of his embrace. Zhizhong gave Zhizhong a gentle push and came out of his arms. "I'm fine. I have a habit I developed when I was a child. I haven't done this for a long time. By the way, I'm going out. Do you want to go out with me or stay with me, wait for me inside?" After saying that, she felt that what she said could easily misunderstand him, so she explained, "Not everyone can enter the cave outside. I don't know if you will be excluded if you go out." Zhizhong glanced at her, wondering if it was his misunderstanding. He felt that since the day before yesterday, his Luo no longer relied on him. This feeling was just like before when they didn't make it clear. She was the indifferent little girl again. Girl. He didn't know what went wrong. It must have been after he said he wanted to participate in the continental competition, but she obviously didn't show any anger. The most important thing is that he never knew that Luo could sleep so well, for 2 nights and a whole day. If the black dumplings outside were not about to be devoured, would she continue to sleep? She said this was a habit she developed when she was a child. Under what circumstances would she sleep for so long? This was the first time he knew someone had such a habit. Try to see if I can go out first. If I can, I will go with Luo. When Luo leaves the cave, I will return to the space. Xuanhuan looked at her with phoenix eyes and said. Yanxiang Luo had no objection. I will go out first, and you will go out later. If that doesn't work, I will send you into space immediately. Xuanhuan nodded, and Ruanxiang Luo disappeared. Xuanhuan knew that she was out, so why did he feel like she couldn't wait to leave him? Xuanhuan also left the space, but as soon as he left, he seemed to be imprisoned by some kind of force and could not move at all. Upon seeing this, Yanxiang Luo sent him back to the Pangu space. Once he returned to the space, Xuanhuan could move. Xuanhuan was helpless. It seemed that the outside world was rejecting him, so he could only watch from space. Luo, be careful. Yeah, Yanxiang Luo responded, feeling inexplicably relieved. In the past, she would have wanted Xuanhuan to accompany her in such a situation, but now she doesn't want to. She has to get used to solving her own problems as before. Don't come to anyone. Yanxiang Luo turned to look at the black dumplings. At this time, the black dumplings were already as big as a bedroom, but they nimbly chased and devoured the few remaining black dumplings in the cave. Yanxiang Luo felt helpless looking at such a dumpling. Could it be that black dumplings will become this big in the future? Wow, will the black dumplings always be this big from now on? He asked if he didn't understand, and Yanxiang Luo communicated with Shiwo. Although Shiwo didn't like the name Wo, he didn't object anymore. No, the owner will take it back to the space. It ate too much and needs to digest it slowly. It will recover after digesting everything back to its original size. Yanxiang Luo was relieved after hearing this. After seeing the black dumpling swallowing the last black dumpling, he sent it back to the space. As soon as Tuanzi returned to space, he couldn't practice on the space stone milk because he was too big, so he nested motionless under the big tree with the space stone milk hanging on it. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 497. Chapter 497 How to Get Out. Yanxiang Luo was speechless. She just came out to eat for 3 days, and then went back to sleep in the space, and then her strength would be improved. I really envy the way it improves strength. Thinking about it, she feels miserable. She has to pass one level after another. If she can't pass it, she will die. God is really unfair. It seems that she just doesn't want you to let her live a comfortable life. No matter how envious she was, there was nothing she could do about it. Yanxiang Luo sent the black dumpling into the space, and then she began to look at the cave carefully. The tunnel through which we came in before has not yet appeared, and no other passages have been seen. It must be that the opportunity has not ended yet. Same, how come she is also the owner of Tuanzi? Tuanzi has such a great opportunity, how can she be worse? Silently comforted myself in my heart. All the black dumplings were swallowed up by her black dumplings, and the entire cave space appeared, very large and empty. Yanxiang Luo felt very small standing among them. Shiwo, are there any other opportunities here? How do I get out? Yanxiang Luo regarded Shiwo as an encyclopedia. Shiwo was speechless. How do I know? Yanxiang Luo choked. It was also Shiwo's first time here. How could he know if there were any other opportunities here? As for going out, he didn't even know. She felt that there might be some opportunity for her, so the way out has not been revealed yet. She walked up to the stone wall of the cave, then walked slowly around the stone wall, observing carefully to see if there were any mechanisms on the stone wall. Although her night vision is very good, the space in the cave is too large and high, so she needs to search slowly. After walking around for a while, Xianxia had used her spiritual consciousness to carefully examine all the stone walls. She even checked the top of the cave and found nothing, let alone any traps. Xianxia stood in the cave and frowned. Could it be that she had thought wrong? The black dumplings have been devoured, so it stands to reason that she should go out if there are no other opportunities. But now there is no movement, and there is no way out. Is this just an opportunity for Black Tuanzi? For her as the owner, she is only qualified to bring it in, but she has no qualifications to go out. It has been 3 days, and the ancestors, masters, and Xiaohao outside should be anxious. It takes a lot of spiritual consciousness to check it out. Xianxia is very rational. After deciding not to rely on Jizhong, she felt that her mind seemed to be spinning faster. Since we can't find an exit or find any mechanism, we must ensure our own strength to avoid being unable to take precautions when sudden situations arise. She sat down cross-legged, preparing to regain her mental strength first. It happened that all the black dumplings were swallowed up, but the spiritual energy in the cave was still very strong. Although it was not as strong as before, it was still 10 times more concentrated than the Xuanhuan sect's spiritual energy outside. While she was recovering her mental strength, and adhering to the principle of not wasting it, she prepared to absorb all the spiritual energy. Thinking about this, she did the same, and while recovering her mental strength, she began to absorb spiritual energy. Talking twice is not a big deal to her, but she seems to rarely use it after coming to the higher continent. She has not slacked off in practice, but why does she feel that she has not worked hard in the Tianqian continent? As soon as she began to absorb the spiritual energy, all the spiritual energy in the cave rushed towards her. If she could see it, she would definitely think that the spiritual energy seemed to be eager to enter her body. Jizhong in the space kept paying attention to the outside. When Xianxia checked, he also looked at it and found no mechanism. Seeing Xianxia sitting down to practice, he knew that she wanted to recover her mental strength, so he didn't have time to spare. He continued to think about what mechanism could be in this cave, and he had to let Lugo get out first. Mu Changling never left outside the cave, and Deng Chang's also came the next day, bringing Chi Hao with him. Chi Hao looked at the entrance of the cave with wet eyes. It has been 3 days since Master went in. Why hasn't he come out yet? He was extremely worried. Deng Chang's was also worried, but he knew that all they could do now was wait quietly, and they couldn't do anything to help. He looked down at Chi Hao and saw that the little guy was about to cry. He comforted him and said, "Your master has experienced more dangers than this before. This is nothing. The longer the time, the greater the opportunity, and harvest this time it's also bigger." Hearing this, Chi Hao looked up at Deng Chang's and said, "Master, I understand, but I am still very worried about Master." Deng Chang suddenly softened his heart and rubbed Chi Hao's head. "It's normal to worry. Our ancestors are also worried about your master, and our ancestors are also worried about your master. This is because we all care about her, but we also have to believe in her and have feelings for her. Confidence, believing that she can survive any danger she encounters." Chi Hao's eyes suddenly lit up, he nodded vigorously, and said proudly, "My master is very powerful." These words are what he thinks from his heart. If the most powerful person in Chi Hao's heart is Xianluo, it must be her. Deng Chang smiled and said, "Well, Xiaoluo is indeed very powerful." The conversation between the two deeply touched Mu Changling's heart. He had never thought of such a master-disciple relationship, nor had he ever had it. Whether he was in the Tianqian continent or after coming to the higher continent, he had apprentices, many of them. Although his apprentices all respected him and he was very protective of them, no apprentice had ever had such feelings with him. This feeling is like that of a family member, and his disciples only have admiration and respect for him. Mu Changling looked away from the entrance of the cave and looked at the blue sky. He had lived for more than 3,600 years, but he had always been lonely in his heart. Although he has never lacked the company of people around him, there has never been anyone who can truly fall in love with him. It can be said that he has lived a very long life, working hard towards his goal of the 9 heavens. Now that he has reached this point, he has been stagnant for too long. He even thinks that in this life, he has reached a height that many monks cannot reach. But it can't reach the height in my mind. After all, his life is running out, and it is unlikely that he will go to the 9 heavens. It is precisely because of this thought that he kept asking himself a question in his mind: do he regret his original choice? Do you regret your persistence in this life? The answer is obvious. He has no regrets. He works hard for his goals. Even if he fails, he has no regrets. But now, seeing the relationship between their master and disciple, he was envious. His life was very successful for a monk, but it was not perfect, and the only imperfection was the emptiness of emotion. Although his success is also due to his indifferent feelings, there is no one in his heart that he can really care about. He does not have the relationship of love, but he also loses the happiness that ordinary people can have. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 498. Those who have not truly experienced what it is like inside a person who has been alone for more than 3,000 years cannot understand it. The spiritual energy inside is decreasing, Mu Changling suddenly said. Hearing this, Deng Changs immediately used his spiritual sense to search in. When he checked just now, the spiritual energy was still very strong. After a while, the spiritual energy decreased. Don't you know that the spiritual energy they can detect is only released by the black dumplings? The reason why the spiritual energy is reduced now is because Yanxiangluo absorbs that spiritual energy. Deng Chang's spiritual consciousness checked in, and sure enough, the spiritual energy was decreasing, and the speed was very fast. Chi Hao looked up at the two of them, his eyes rolling, wondering what was going on. Ancestor, what's going on? Deng Changs asked. It has been 3 days and there has been no movement. Why did the spiritual energy suddenly decrease? Mu Changling shook his head. I don't know what's going on, but I'm sure Xiao Luo is fine. Deng Changs understood what he meant. There were changes in it that showed what Xiao Luo had done, proving that she was a good person. The two of them breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Deng Changs thought of his young apprentice's good luck in cultivation, and wondered in his heart, could the spiritual energy inside be absorbed by his young apprentice? Now that there is finally movement inside, the two of them have been monitoring the spiritual energy to know the situation of Yanxiangluo. After I couldn't detect the rich spiritual energy inside at all, there was no movement at all, and I began to worry again. At this time, only an hour has passed. The light of advancement erupted from Yanxiangluo's body. After absorbing the spiritual energy in the cave, she advanced to the first level. Although it was only the first level, she had just advanced not long after she just absorbed the spiritual energy in the cave. This is simply like picking up a level of cultivation for nothing. Yanxiangluo suddenly opened her eyes. Not only did she advance to the first level, she also recovered all the mental energy she had consumed. She recovered her mental energy so quickly this time. Could it have something to do with the aura here? She was very surprised. At this moment, the cave suddenly lit up. Yanxiangluo stood up from the ground in an instant and looked around cautiously. Ji Zhong in the space originally watched her absorb spiritual energy and advance, and was happy for her. Then he saw the cave suddenly light up, but at the same time he could not see outside the space. Xuanhuan was anxious and wanted to go out immediately, but the space seemed to be locked and he could not leave the space at all. Although he was prohibited from moving outside the space before, at least he could still go out. Now the cave outside has completely isolated the space. He didn't know what happened in the cave, but he understood that the reason why the cave had not changed before was because the spiritual energy inside had not been completely absorbed. The spiritual energy will not continue until it is completely absorbed. This is just one of the steps. Luoluo couldn't find a way, so she restored her mental strength first and got it right. I just don't know if it's an opportunity or a danger. No matter how anxious he was, there was nothing he could do. He couldn't get out, and even if he got out, he couldn't move. He couldn't do anything to help her. Instead, she was a burden. Now he could only wait for news in space. But at this moment, his consciousness suddenly lit up. Just as he was about to see what was going on, he felt dizzy and fell to the ground, unconscious without moving. Although he was unconscious, his brows were furrowed, as if he was experiencing something uncomfortable. So much so that his spiritual pet Wuji stopped practicing. He flew to him and landed on him, anxious to communicate with him, but the contract between them seemed to be blocked, and Wuji could not communicate with Xuanhuan's consciousness. Wuji was very anxious. He had never encountered such a situation since he contracted with his master. In the past, when the master's health was so bad, his connection with his spiritual consciousness was never blocked. Yuntuan, Zhetian, and Wushuang all came over and looked at Xuanhuan worriedly. It was then that they discovered that the original owner's permission to enter and exit the space they had released was no longer easy to use, and they could no longer contact their owner. For a time, the spiritual pets collectively panicked. What happened? Why did Xuanhuan, who was so powerful in their eyes, fall into a coma? What happened to their owner? Why can't I contact my spiritual consciousness? Yuntuan and Zhetian blame themselves. They have been habitually waiting for Yan Xiangluo's orders. As long as Yan Xiangluo doesn't need them to do anything, they will stay in the space and practice. They never thought that their master would also encounter such sudden dangers that they could not contact. They should always be vigilant and leave one of them outside to accompany their master. If there is any danger, they can help their master anytime and anywhere. There is no use regretting now. Jishan is still the calmest among them, soothing Wuji, your master is just in a coma. He must be experiencing something. Let's not disturb him. Just wait. With Zhetian's words, Wuji finally calmed down, and so did Yuntuan and Wushuang. Only then did they see that it had turned into a black dumpling the size of a house. The cloud flew over, circled around the black dumpling for a few times, then returned to Xuanhuan and told Zhetian Tong, this guy ate it. How many good things can be made like this all at once? Zhetian Dao said, it's fine. It seems that its master must have encountered some big opportunity. Yuntuan sighed, I hope there is no life-threatening danger. At this time, the cave was getting brighter and brighter, and Yan Xiangluo finally found the source of the light. Dozens of windows were opened on the stone walls around the cave, and in each window was a bright round ball as big as a bowl. Balls, it is these that illuminate the entire cave. Yan Xiangluo let go of her consciousness and sensed her surroundings. Since there were changes, something was bound to happen. Whether it was danger or opportunity, she could only face it by herself. Therefore, a domineering and unyielding light emerged from her eyes. She, Yuan Xiangluo, has been through many hardships since she was born. The road she has traveled has never been smooth. She is still afraid of taking risks and opportunities alone. Just when all the light emitted the strongest light, the light converged at the top of the cave, forming a beam of light that shot down and shone on the ground in the middle of the cave. The light formed a halo and spread on the ground, with rings of light starting in the middle. As the center image spreads out all around, the halos are extremely clear. Yan Xianglue was standing close to a stone wall. The aura spread all the way to her feet and continued behind him, finally stopping at the junction of the stone wall and the ground. Yan Xianglue looked at the ripple-like halos beneath her feet and did not dare to move. Then the halo changed again, and patterns appeared in the middle of each two halos, and the patterns in the middle of each two halos were different. Yu Xianglue counted it and found a total of 7, and 49 patterns. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 499. Chapter 499 Golden Palace. And Yan Xiangluo's feet stepped on a pattern. Looking at these patterns, Xiangluo thought some of them looked familiar. Where had she seen them? She immediately remembered that 7 of these patterns were the same as the circle of patterns on Shiwo's body. Why do these patterns appear here? What does Shiwo have to do with this place? Yan Xiangluo knew that Shiwo must know something, but there must be some restriction that she couldn't tell herself. Thinking of Shiwo telling her to recover her memory as soon as possible, Yan Xiangluo felt that she should recover her memory as soon as possible, otherwise it would delay things too much. This feeling of always having a familiar feeling but being unable to remember anything was strange. Great. But her memory cannot be restored if she wants to, otherwise she wouldn't have waited until now. After all the patterns appeared, a lotus pattern appeared in the middle of the ground where the light beam fell. The magical thing was that the lotus bloomed layer by layer, and it didn't stop until it bloomed 9 layers, forming a luminous lotus platform. Yan Xiangluo looked at the scene in front of her. Dozens of luminous beads gathered dozens of rays of light, forming a pillar of light in the middle of the cave. The pillar of light fell on the 9-layer lotus. Under the lotus were light waves and pictures. She felt like this world was unreal when she was in it. But she never noticed any danger, so why did the scene in front of her happen? Yan Xiangluo stood motionless, afraid that a small movement would cause huge changes. At this time, Yan Xiangluo was suddenly grabbed by an invisible force. She struggled to no avail, but the strength of the hold was just right, preventing her from breaking away without hurting her. Yan Xiangluo knew that the invisible force had no intention of harming her, so she stopped struggling. After she stopped struggling, the invisible force took her to fly to the 9-layer lotus. Yan Xiangluo understood that this invisible force wanted to take her to the top of the 9-layer lotus. Since she was not an opponent and could not struggle away, let's face reality and see what she was doing there. She knew very well that she would not be able to leave until the things here were resolved. As soon as her feet landed on the 9-layered lotus flower, the invisible force that bound her disappeared. Standing on the 9-story lotus, Yan Xiangluo looked down, and the patterns in the halo became clearer. Suddenly, Xing Ming narrowed his eyes. Why do these patterns look so like Xian patterns? Although this idea appeared in her mind, it only seemed like it to her. After all, if it was Xuanhuan, how could she not recognize any of them? At this moment, the light above her head was getting hotter and hotter. Yan Xiangluo couldn't help but look up. A bright light was so dazzling that she felt dizzy, and then her body fell softly. The woman in the fiery red dress was lying on the 9-story lotus platform, as if she was asleep. At this time, Yan Xiangluo's soul seemed to have left her body, wandering uncontrollably over the familiar mountains and rivers. This is where? Why does it look familiar to me? Although she didn't know where it was, she seemed to be very sure that this was not anywhere in the higher continent. Even if she has not traveled all over the higher continent, she can still be sure. Where does your confidence come from? Yan Xiangluo looked at the clouds passing by her feet. Below the clouds were mountains, trees, and rivers. She looked forward and saw a majestic palace-like building faintly in front of her, glowing with golden light under the white clouds. Vest. Looking carefully, the golden light is reflected by the color of the building itself. Oh my God, a golden palace. Isn't it built with gold? Although in the eyes of monks, worldly things such as gold and silver are completely unacceptable, and even monks use spiritual stones to trade for anything they need, but if she had such a big pile of gold, she would not despise it as a worldly thing. As Xianxia cursed in her heart, she was getting closer and closer to the golden palace. Just when she was about to reach the palace, her body unconsciously accelerated towards the palace. This was beyond her control. Xianxia didn't struggle. Now that she was a spirit, since she was asked to go to the palace, she should go and have a look. She was quite curious anyway. While thinking, her soul fell in front of the main entrance of the palace, looking at the golden palace walls and luxurious palace doors. Xianxia was speechless. It was indeed made of gold. Who would like it to be so special? Not only was a palace built with real gold, but it was also built in such a luxurious way that every detail was clearly thought of. Even the door knocker on the palace door was engraved with a circle of exquisite patterns, but she really didn't see what it was. Since she is flying here, why not let her fly in directly? The door is not open, so how can she get in? Just as she was thinking about how to get in, the luxurious palace door slowly opened to both sides, and the door knocker hit the palace door, making a unique sound of gold. Xianxia's apricot eyes flashed for a moment, and her big eyes moved intelligently. Is there anyone there? Just when this idea came to her, a figure appeared in front of the palace gate. It was a handsome man in a snow-white robe who looked like a fairy. When he appeared, he was walking in a walking posture. It seemed that he was not walking fast. But he appeared in front of her in the blink of an eye. Xianxia looked at the man in confusion, feeling familiar. The man could obviously see the incense falling, and he respectfully saluted, "Master Tian, you are back." Xianxia looked behind her and saw that there was no one. She was the only soul here. She looked at the man again and saw that he was still in the middle of saluting and did not get up, so she asked, "Are you talking to me?" The man responded, "Yes, Heavenly Master." Xianxia was sure this time. The man was indeed talking to her and called her Heavenly Master. Is he back? Could this be the place where she lived in her previous life? Did I look the same in my previous life as in this life? He calls himself a celestial master. Could it be that he was also a celestial master in his previous life? Get up, Xianxia blurted out naturally. After the words came out, she realized that it was as if she had said the sentence often before, and it came out so naturally. Yes, the man responded respectfully and stood up. How can you see my soul? Xianxia asked. The man's gaze paused and he said, "The blessing given to me by the Heavenly Master." A dark light flashed across Xianxia's eyes. His ability was given to him by himself in the previous life. How powerful was he in the previous life? Thinking that the senior, second, and fifth senior brothers she had met were all very powerful, Xianxia was not surprised that she had this ability in her previous life. Xianxia looked inside the palace gate. The man immediately stood aside and made a gesture of invitation, "Master Tian, nothing has changed inside. I'm just waiting for Master Tian to come back." End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 500. Xianxia glanced at him, waiting for her to come back. Did he already know that he could come back here in this life? Do the people here have such magical powers? Can only my soul come back, or can my body in this life also come back? No matter whether her body can come back in the future, her spirit is back now, so let's go in and see how magical this place is. Looking at the dazzling golden palace again, Xianxia was a little disbelieving. The person who had such a special hobby that she had just complained about was actually herself in the previous life. What did she think at that time that she actually built such a palace? Although he cursed himself inwardly, his expression didn't show it at all, and he walked in. The man followed her. After she entered, he raised his hand and the heavy and luxurious palace door was closed again. Xianxia looked back and saw that the luxury inside the palace gate was no less luxurious than the outside, or even better. These two doors are also telling her that this is not a place for ordinary people to come. Without spiritual power, these two doors cannot be opened because they are too heavy. Withdrawing your gaze and walking forward, it feels really different to step on a road paved with solid gold under your feet. Where is this place? Xianxia asked. The man said respectfully, the place where the Heavenly Master lives? Xianxia raised her eyebrows and said, if you have a question that you can't answer, you can tell me directly. There is no need to be so perfunctory. There is no difference between this answer and no answer. The man was stunned and said, this is indeed the place where the Heavenly Master lives? No name. Xianxia was speechless. Did he not understand the words? The man understood clearly and said, the Heavenly Master used to call this place this way without giving it a name. Xianxia was stunned. She didn't expect it to be like this. Since it is the place where you live, how can it not have a name? Don't you like it here? However, because there is no name here, those who respect the Heavenly Master call it the Wuming Palace. The man explained again. The nameless palace? Is it because it does not mean a name, or does it not mean fame or fortune? Xianxia narrowed her eyes. When she heard this name, everything about her past life seemed to be revealed in front of her. But why did she feel a sad feeling in her heart? Is it because of the master and 6 senior brothers that I haven't remembered yet? Or everything that has ever happened? The man saw Xianxia stop, so he stopped too, without disturbing her, and stood quietly aside. A fragment suddenly flashed through Xianxia's mind. It was about this man. It was a fragment. He followed her respectfully and politely, never breaking the rules. Xianxia looked back at him and asked, what's your name? The man shook his head and said, I can't say anything until the Heavenly Master remembers it. Xianxia sneered, it's quite interesting. Her words were very meaningful. When the man heard this, his eyes paused and he pursed his lower lip. He wanted to say something but held back. Xianxia looked at the palace built of gold again. She didn't feel the same as before, but felt a little repulsed. No matter which life she lived in, her intuition was very accurate, and this intuition helped her avoid countless times. Xianxia continued to walk forward. There was a magnificent palace sitting high up in front. According to the palace she saw in the air, this should be the main palace, which is equivalent to the living room at home. This palace is on a very high step. After just a glance, Xianxia knew that there should be nearly 100 steps. According to experience, there should be 99 steps. 99 is the same, regardless of whether you are practicing. Both people and those in control of the imperial power are obsessed with this number. Stepping onto the steps, Xianxia looked down and saw patterns carved on each step. She had just seen these patterns before, between the halos in the cave. There are 77 and 49 there, and there are 99 steps here. Are there more patterns here than between the halos? Although the pattern is on the steps, the surface of the steps is still very smooth without any bulges. Tell me what you can say about this, Xianxia said to the man who was 3 steps behind her without looking back. Yes, the man responded and began to speak, his voice neither high nor low, neither urgent nor slow. In front is the main hall, which is where the Celestial Master used to discuss business and receive visitors. There are 99 steps that the Celestial Master walks up, and each one has a mysterious pattern carved by the Celestial Master himself. Xianxia stared at it for a moment. These patterns were indeed Xian patterns. No wonder they looked like patterns, and the steps were very smooth. If these were Xian patterns, it would make sense. The Xian patterns engraved on the patterns would naturally not have any unevenness. These mysterious patterns contain the soul power of the Celestial Master, and only the Celestial Master can activate it. Soul power? Yan Xiangluo's eyes suddenly opened and he looked at his feet. Yes, he called himself a Celestial Master. A Celestial Master is a very sacred profession in the higher continents. He is a who can see through the past, predict the future, and change people's destiny. In the eyes of the world, the Celestial Master has the extraordinary ability to communicate with all things in the world and is omnipotent. Especially the Celestial Master who has strong power to control souls. Her mother, Long Moran, was able to separate her soul into one soul and keep her in 2 lifetimes. This was actually the skill of the Heavenly Master. It's just that there are no Heavenly Masters in the lower continents, and no one except the 9 families knows how terrifying the Long family's soul-controlling power is. It is true that in the higher continents, the Heavenly Master is extremely worshipped, and can even be said to be arrogant. Yan Xiangluo has read the historical records of the higher continent. It can be said that precisely because of the existence of the Celestial Master, the higher continent is not ruled by imperial power, but is controlled by various powerful forces. Just because there is a feared Heavenly Master here. Yan Xiangluo sensed it, maybe because she was now in a divine soul body, she could clearly sense the soul power faintly emerging on the steps, which was much stronger than her current soul power. After Ruan Xiangluo accepted the inheritance of the power of soul control from the Long family, she did not practice it just because she felt a little unsure. She originally wanted to wait until she saw her mother and ask her questions before deciding whether to practice or not, but now it seems that, this power of soul control really can't wait, we have to learn it quickly. Yan Xiangluo's thoughts were spinning rapidly and she didn't stop walking. When she reached the 7749th step, she reached a platform. A 9-layered lotus was carved on the platform. It was exactly the same as the 9-layered lotus formed under the light pillar in the cave. Look! Yan Xiangluo stopped and looked at the 9-layered lotus on the ground. The rosette was in full bloom on the side she came from, towards the main hall. The man happened to have reached this point. The pattern on the ground is a 9-layered lotus. It was carved here by the Celestial Master back then. No one can step on it except the Celestial Master. The man Hualuo thought she would step on it and try, but Yan Xiangluo raised her foot and walked around the 9-layer lotus and continued walking up.